all of her damage comes from natural attacks. So crit damage is great on her, unlike commanders who rely on skills. I'm not going to go down that list, but Skywalker, I prefer that on her, and the accuracy is important. So I should probably put those on for this video so people don't have me muted. Oh, not again! Greetings, Commanders! Welcome back to another Commander Breakdown. Probably one of the coolest trios in all of Arc of War, but hasn't really been explored too much. People don't play this trio too much, and what I mean by trio is really what I mean is like a Pokemon evolution tree. So let's talk about Team Disablers. So everyone's familiar with like the one slot bust, guaranteed hit. I always talk about it. It's the dominant meta right now. You get a guaranteed chance to hit. It does a bonus damage usually. Golems, Vegas, Raymonds, Nekajiros, Chiefs. Oh, the list goes on. But there's also a class of commanders that is defensive, right? You got your Rogerses, you've got your Elf now, and you've got, who else? Kind of Exorcist, but I think Rogers really fits the role as defensive. But then you also have your Ritas and Plasmas who defend primarily on dodge. Well, today we're talking about commanders that are kind of like enchantresses of MMOs. They are disablers. So level 1, the cheapest commander, the easiest commander to get in this class is Sensei. Typical 20-40% commanders in this class. The 20% skill for Sensei is the main skill here. 20% chance says that the target will skip their next action and the dodge rate decreases. So 20% chance, if this slot triggers it, it will make the opposite slot like normal skip their next turn. That's great. In a perfect scenario, if you're the defender, you can just keep forcing your enemy to skip. It's a real thing. It actually happens on a higher level chances. 20% is not going to happen too much. And then the 40% is a force field. It says that for every level, you gain 2% of your activator's HP, which is it's fine. You know, you get a 40% shield buff, but you're an infantry commander. You don't want to get hit at all to begin with, let alone, you know, HP stat. HP, you already have such low HP on infantry troops anyway. It's not a useless skill. At least it's not like, hey, plus crit, crit chance. No, it is useful, but eventually what you'll do is you'll take Sensei and we'll take him to the next level by involving him into the next commander in this list. So before we go any further, before we leave Sensei and never come back to him, let's get his flavor text. Sensei is a mighty man. He has served as the head of the Milky Way Swordsmanship Alliance Council for 1,000 years. He's like Yoda. When asked about the secret to his longevity, he said that his enjoyment of yoga has something to do with it. All right. Yoda. He's like a Yoda remake yogi named Sensei Swordmaster. Okay, well, there it is. He's got a foam sword or a lightsaber sword. I don't know. Anyway, so once you get comfortable and you like that playstyle, which I don't recommend, but I don't totally advocate against it, because what I'm going to show you at the end of this video is that the highest evolution, Lilith, the Charizard of this evolution change, is actually the best counter to Rogers. I wouldn't say it's a counter, but it's the best fair fight against Rogers. All right, so next in the chain of command is Robin. See, Robin, first off, Robin's a free commander, so he's a little harder to get than Sensei. You can just release 10 at the warp gate until you get Sensei. But you can't do that with Robin. Robin comes around every 3 months or so. His skills, once again, 20-40%. We've done a Robin video, and if you want to go back and visit that more in depth, you can do so. Basically what it is, he's got a 20% guaranteed counter-strike hit, kind of like Libra, which is cool if you build him with dodge, because if he dodges, he still gets the counter-strike hit. And it's just like Plasma and Rita. So he's got a little bit of the normal defensive infantry build, but then his 40% skill is the chain skill, which means that it will hit the activator. Instead of making them skip the turn, instead what happens is they're unable to activate their skills or star jewels, and they slightly lower their attack. And the way it says attack makes it read like not damage, actual overall attack, which, if someone has 300% bonus damage on their Titan, this isn't just going to take 10% off of that. This is going to take 10% off their entire attack. So he's a very defensive commander, and he's a disabler. But he really lacks the potency of damage, which kind of makes up for it as an infantry commander. But all around, he's just okay. He's a very much like, he can fight against Rogers, but he doesn't have that one slot bust thing. He's in the conversation of when the meta shifts to more balance and defense builds, Robin will be mentioned. However, that takes us to our next commander. Oh wait, yeah, we have a Robin video. You can go into more details on him if you're into that. If you want to go to the next level of disable, the highest level is going to be Lilith. Lilith is the hardest to get to S-Class. You can only get her by Release A Commander's event or the Release A tokens that you have to buy. But she does have 2 skins, so you can go with Old Lilith, or you can go with... oh no, not during the video! Not a good time to have Wi-Fi problems. Anyway, so she has 2 skins. One of them, she's more vampire-esque. The other one, she's more Frozen-esque. And if we can get this video back, that would be great. Well, if it crashes, we'll just continue on. Basically, Lilith has the opposite of Sensei. Sensei is going to have a 20% disable and then 40% buff. Lilith has 20% buff. And then, see, there it is. And her buff is not as good as Sensei's. It's actually substantially less than Sensei's buff. But, you know, hers is based off the Initiator's total HP. His is based off the current HP. I don't know how much that really comes into play. I wouldn't worry too much. It's not a skill you're looking forward to. It's a 20% skill. It's there. It's not totally useless, but you're not going to get a lot of value out of it. 40% are Sleep Bomb. The troops across the way skip their turn, and it lowers their dodge. So, yeah, it lowers their dodge. Okay, whatever. She doesn't have any guaranteed hit skills, so she'll rely on gems like Sagittarius, Gemini, potentially Libra, because you're going to build her with some dodge. And it's nice to have some tier suppression if you're always fighting lower opponents, or just, you know, it's a good balance build all around. So yeah, that's how I do her build. As far as items are concerned, you probably want to go with... Okay, so that's the kind of gear you want on your Lilith. It would be better to run a Void on her for that extra dodge. You know, you can argue that Tyrant is better because it certainly does have a ton of defense on it. You don't want to get hit at all. I don't recommend Body of Phoenix. The stats are just too low. So for chess pieces, I like Black Knight on her. Void is probably better. But not an essential slot for this type of build. You definitely want to go with the Nixop Pants. You could argue Maduel Pants just for the bonus damage because she does lack in damage. But, you know, not getting hit's important for this build, and she does like to disable. So, you know, she's a defensive infantry commander. Dodge is always a good choice. Weapon-wise, yeah, because she doesn't have guaranteed hit, it is always one of those things where you think, I got to have at least some accuracy so I don't, you know, get dodged by airships on accident. You know, that can happen if you have tier 6 or tier 5 and you go against tier 7, even if they're not using dodge, just because they're 2 levels higher, sometimes they have incredibly higher dodge. So Apocalyptors are great, but, you know, I think Skywalkers are probably better. One, they're more affordable, and they add crit damage, accuracy, and they add accuracy in a higher percentage. And because Lilith doesn't use any of her skills as nukes, which means they can't crit, it doesn't bother her builds to use crit damage because all of her damage comes from natural attacks. So crit damage is great on her, unlike commanders who rely on skills. I'm not going to go down that list, but Skywalker, I prefer that on her, and the accuracy is important. So I should probably put those on for this video so people don't have me muted. Oh, not again! Come on, man. Really? All right, well, we're having lag issues. We're going to have to just accept that for what it is. I like Guy of Abyss as well. So, you know, you can get away with either here. Of course, Titans are great as well if you can muster up the coin to build the Titans. They do lack accuracy, but all in all, she wants damage. That's Lilith's big thing is damage. So, let's do our favorite flavor text, and then we'll get into the replay I need to show you. The Power of Eternal Life. We have no idea where she got it from or her target. We just know that when it comes to her, we aren't even on her radar. Okay. I think she's a vampire. I think it's safe to assume she's a vampire. That's what they were going for. Okay. She's a disabler. Doesn't really steal life or heal, so whatever that's about, no big deal. Okay. Let's get over to our YouTube replay. So what's really special about Lilith's skill is that she can force Rogers to not attack at all. Unlike Robin, who just disables them from attacking skills. When Robin fights Rogers, he still gets hit by Rogers. And even though Rogers, it doesn't really build damage, that stuff, it hurts to get hit by anyone, especially even a Rogers. And especially if Tyrant Cometh triggers, because Tyrant Cometh for Rogers is the hardest hitting guaranteed hit skill in the game. So, okay. Let's start with this. So we get a Sleep Bomb, we get a Sagittarius, we get a Light Veil. So she makes him skip his turn, and she gets a super hard hit. Great start for Lilith. Oh, I should probably explain. Me and Bentnail did this simulation to start off with just 1,000 leadership tier 2 with similar gear. And he went typical Lilith infantry damage dodge gear like I just talked about. And I went typical Rogers all, defense, cancer, gems, HP build, and a little bit of dodge. Mostly dodge, I think, actually. So he may miss some. So, all right. So Rogers starts his first defensive stack. But luckily, she was able to kill the first slot without him triggering that defensive slot. So that gave Lilith a big advantage there, which may not necessarily be the case all the time. So here comes another shield. That's nice for her. It absorbs some of the damage, so she survives, but not a tremendous amount. And my skills aren't very high, or his skills aren't very high to begin with. So here comes another Sleep Bomb, and that means that Roger doesn't get to go. And that one doesn't get to attack because he Tyrant Cometh. And it's so hard to even keep track of which side is attacking. All right, where is Roger? Oh, he's okay. So Rogers currently is zeroing out. You see that? It did 0 damage. So his defensive stacks have made it so that we're doing 0 damage. But what we're trying to do is disable all 3 of those in the front, all 3 of Rogers' troops that we can hit with our skills, because you only hit directly across the way. We're trying to disable those so that they don't get to trigger defensive stance, so that the only ones he could get are the ones in the back. And even then, it's only an 80% trigger rate. So he's always going to have at least 1 or 2 stacks up, but we're trying to get it so that he has 3 or less. Because if Rogers only has 3 or less, that's only 90% maximum. So he can still take 10% of normal damage, which is all it takes if you're hammering away on him and he has very, very low damage. Remember, Rogerses don't build damage. They only build barriers, eternal barriers, or they should. So here we go. We're still hitting for 0. We're still hitting for 0. Gotta wait for that defensive stance to fall off. Now he triggers it again there. Ouch. So that was a beating. All right. So the light veils are helping with the awakenings. Now, we're hitting now. Okay. They are finally hitting. All right. Oh, there's the Tyrant Cometh that destroyed that slot. So Roger's still, very formidable. Oof, man. That was unfortunate. This Rogers is not missing. This wasn't the only simulation we ran, but this is the only simulation I saved. So, oh yeah, we're going to have plenty of time to keep running the simulation. So let's see. We're still hitting for damage. You notice how that's getting through the defensive stance because he's not triggering it all the time. So that was the bottom slot. Now this should be slot number 2. Doesn't attack because of Tyrant Cometh. Very confusing replay. I know that. So if you want to go back and watch it, you can. There we go. That guy did not trigger his defensive stance. That was just unfortunate. This is slot 5. There's a defensive stance. But now, look at this fight. It's even though he broke through first, we are getting first shots on him, eventually leading to the successful victory for the infantry commander. So, oh, look at that. My Rogers did have a little bit of attack on him. So, that's the answer to Rogers. I think I've mentioned that Lilith is the answer to Rogers, but it's not a great answer. It's just she's the best answer. I always hoped that they would have made her, like a 60% disable commander, but that would have been way too powerful. But, yeah, so that's Lilith, guys. She has very cool skins. She has very cool disables. As a defensive commander, sometimes you can get lucky 2 triggers in a row and really hurt your opponent. And she certainly has a cool disposition against Rogers, which doesn't really have anyone that he's weak to. You just beat him with 1 slot bus, or you main Lilith. But no one wants to main Lilith, and people aren't maining Rogers anymore, so she's become less useful. So as far as the defensive or disabling class, Sensei, Robin, and Lilith is concerned, they are a very cool trio. I like that they're in the game. I would like to see the game shift away from the 1-slot bust meta and make it more balanced for options for more defensive commanders. And until that happens, they are going to be sidelined. But they are options. Lilith is a good option. That's only A class. S class looks a little bit cooler. I ate her recently. Need to do a absorb A commanders event. But yeah. So did I get it all? Did I get it all? I don't know. Now I got to edit this video. Oh no. One more time. Let's talk about the gear. I have Abyss because we like crit damage and accuracy. Double Skywalkers because they're cheap and we like crit damage and accuracy. Pants, definitely Nixaw. Chest, definitely Void. But chest isn't that necessary. That's your least important item. But she's easy to build, fun to play with. Not a great one-slot bus commander, but she's got a weird answer to Rogers. So that's that. End of video. Thanks for watching.